Welcome to our usual Saturday morning mix of fun and faith, the ponderous and the murderous, the delightful and the frightful, the intriguing and the fatiguing. It's tea in the hall.
To tea in the hall, come one and come all, from Saturdays at 9. There's no bacon rolls, no scones, no snowballs, and nothing to drink at all. But we will share friendship and fellowship, fun quizzes, some stories, some talk. So might you in tea and a biscuit all day, please join us for tea in the hall. Oh, the doors are shut, the church all locked up, there's nothing going on in the hall, but just the same we'll praise God's name, He doesn't change at all. So now it's time in your house and mine to answer to the call. Bring your in cup and come and sup with us, tea in the hall.
This is indeed our final regular tea in the hall, although we hope to, in the weeks to come, at different seasons and times of the year or times when an event happens, to have special teas in the hall. This morning there's a wee kind of thread of kind of memory and rhymes and sayings running through it, like a stitch in time saves a nine. And the first one is actually something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. The something old is an old friend, Paul Cohen, who's going to play for us. And the something new is a completely new instrument that we haven't heard played on Tea in the Hall before. And the something borrowed and the something blue, well, I'll tell you after we hear Paul. Well, the something borrowed was actually that playing by Paul. I pinched it from his Facebook page, which has plenty of examples of him playing the piano, which he plays absolutely beautifully. So if you just look Paul Cohen, Cohen, Paul Cohen, on Facebook, then you'll find all of his lovely piano videos and his Russian dolls there as well. The something blue, well, I'm glad to see that an Ayr United supporter is wearing a Kelly blue top. And if you didn't know the name of the instrument, it's called a Jew's harp or a jaw harp. And we can see here it's made up of 3 parts. The metal part that you hold onto. There's a kind of reed or piece of wood, sometimes bone in the middle, that you place between your teeth. And then there's a there's a plucker, it's called a plucker. It's just a piece of wire, and apparently you just pluck that, and I don't know what you do with your tongue and your throat to produce the music. But my mother used to always talk, my grandpa used to always talk about a Jew's harp, but I think over the years other instruments have taken over. But thanks to Paul for introducing us to that. And now it's time to see if that cup of tea has actually worked on your brain cells, because it's quiz time. And our quiz this week is on Scottish sayings, wise and otherwise, with maybe a wee translation as we go along. So please see if you can complete these Scottish sayings. Number 1. If I don't see you through the week. If I don't see you through the week. If I don't see you through the week, I'll see you through the windy. We'll be in touch. Number 2. Saturday flit. Saturday flit. Saturday flit, short sit. If you move house on a Saturday, you may not live in that house for very long. Load of rubbish, but it's a Scottish saying. Number 3. Your shed's like a. Your shed's like a. Your shed's like a hide shed. Your shed's like a high shed. Your parting is not very straight in your hair. Number 3. He'd cause a row. He'd cause a row. He'd cause a row in an empty house. He has a tendency to be argumentative. Number 4. Good gear comes in. Good gear comes in. Good gear comes in wee book. Good things come in small packages. Number 5. It's no lost. It's no lost. It's no lost what a friend gets. It's good to share. Number 6. I've got a head like a. I've got a head like a. I've got a head like a stairhead. I have rather a bad headache. Number 7. Money a mickle max. Money a mickle max. Money a mickle, max a muckle. Small things add up to great things. Number 8. What's for ye? What's for ye? What's for ye, I'll no go by you. Whatever is meant to happen in your life will happen. Number 9. Keep the heed and wheel. Keep the heed and wheel. Keep the heed and we'll give you a bonnet. A gentle encouragement to calm down. Number 10. We're all bairns. We're all bairns. We're all Jock Thompson's bairns. We're all just the same, brothers and sisters together. Number 11. You couldn't fin salt water. You couldn't fin salt water. You couldn't fin salt water at Trin. Your efforts in finding things are not very good. Number 12, final one. It's a what to the side like. It's a what to the side like. It's a what to the side like Guruk. It's not particularly straight. And that's the end of the quiz. I'm not sure if some of these sayings were Scottish or west of Scotland or Kilmarnock or just things that my mother used to say to me. So if you got 9 out of 12, I think you're doing not bad. And if you're non-Scottish and you get any of these translations, then I think you're doing excellently. A 5th grade teacher in America, that's the same as primary 1 here. She had been teaching her class about proverbs. So she decided to give them a wee test, and she gave them the first part of the proverb and they had to complete it. But obviously, I don't think she was that good a teacher, because this is what they said. It's always darkest before daylight saving time. Never underestimate the power of termites. No news is impossible. Don't bite the hand that looks dirty. A miss is as good as a mister. You can't teach an old dog new maths. The pen is mightier than the pig. An idle mind is the best way to relax. Where there's smoke, there's pollution. A penny saved is not much. Don't put off till tomorrow what you put on to go to bed. Two's company, three's the musketeers. Laugh and the world laughs with you. Cry and you have to blow your nose. Now I'm delighted to welcome a new guest, Maggie McRae. Maggie taught German, I think, when I was teaching French at Loudon Academy, but she has also taught other subjects as well. But she has a claim to fame, quite literally, because recently she was inducted into the Scottish Traditional Music Hall of Fame. And that's because, as well as being a secondary school teacher, as well as being married and having a family, she has championed the cause of traditional music right through her life, really, working with school children and others to teach them traditional music and songs. As she said herself, she kind of likes to adopt things that are failing and try to boost them up again. So she took over the Kilmarnock Folk Club and she boosted it up for quite a while. And then she took over the Girvan Folk Music Festival, and again it is up and running. And she is a founder member and the piano player in the Ceilidh band called the Tatty Howkers that some of you may have heard. And Maggie's going to introduce herself just now, and we are then going to hear the Dashing White Sergeant played by the Tatty Howkers, and that will accompany some slides of Scotland that Bobby Guthrie sent to us. But I'll hand over first to Maggie.
Hello, I'm Maggie McRae. I was brought up in a family where playing tunes and singing songs were part of life. It's always about live performance. It's never so much about how professional it is. It's about sharing the song or tune and listening to others contributing their song or tune. I'm still discovering songs in the Scottish tradition, Irish, English songs as well. And the best way is to hear a song sung at a sing around that you just have to learn. You just love it. The Tattyhowkers Ceilidh Band, we started off in 1988, a few members of Kilmarnock Folk Club. We decided to do a fundraiser to be able to pay better fees to the guests coming as artists to the club. And it just went on from there. A packed Ceilidh, you have dancers not bothering about how good their dancing is. There's plenty of firm hand grips and wild barrels, laughs and smiling faces. It's great when there's no better atmosphere than that. Thank you.
And at school, I loved it when the teacher brought out the books, the traditional English and Scottish folk songs. I loved the ones that were really repetitive, so you didn't really have to look at the words too much. And one of my favourites is a song called Green Grow the Rushes O, not to be confused with the Burns song. But this is a 12-verse song, and each of the verses, they say, has a particular meaning. Some of the meanings are obvious, like 4 for the gospel makers, but some maybe aren't quite so obvious. So I'm going to sing this. It's a 2-part song. The leader sings, I'll sing you one O, and you would sing, Green grow the rushes O, what is your one O? Okay, you pick it up as you go along, but your part to sing is, Green grow the rushes O, what is your one O, what is your 2 O? It's a wee bit rough and ready, but I hope you maybe bring back some memories for you. I'll sing you one O, green grow the rushes O, what is your one O? One is one and all alone, and evermore shall be so. I'll sing you 2 O, green grow the rushes O, what is your 2 O? 2 the lily white boys, clothed all in green ho. One is one and all alone, and evermore shall be so. I'll sing you 3 O, green grow the rushes O, what is your 3 O? 3 the rivals. 2 the lily white boys, clothed all in green ho. One is one and all alone, evermore shall be so. I'll sing you 4 O, green grow the rushes O, what is your 4 O? 4 for the gospel makers, 3 the rivals. 2 the lily white boys, clothed all in green ho. One is one and all alone, evermore shall be so. I'll sing you 5 O, green grow the rushes O, what is your 5 O? 5 for the cymbals at your door, 4 for the gospel makers, 3 the rivals. 2 the lily white boys, clothed all in green ho. One is one and all alone, evermore shall be so. I'll sing you 6 O, green grow the rushes O, what is your 6 O? 6 for the 6 proud walkers, 5 for the cymbals at your door, 4 for the gospel makers, 3 the rivals. 2 the lily white boys, clothed all in green ho. One is one and all alone, evermore shall be so. I'll sing you 6 O, green grow the rushes O, what is your 6 O? 6 for the 6 proud walkers, 5 for the cymbals at your door, 4 for the gospel makers, 3 the rivals. 2 the lily white boys, clothed all in green ho. One is one and all alone, and evermore shall be so. I'll sing you 7 O, green grow the rushes O, what is your 7 O? 7 for the 7 stars in the sky, 6 for the 6 proud walkers, 5 for the cymbals at your door, 4 for the gospel makers, 3 the rivals. 2 the lily white boys, clothed all in green ho. 2 is one and all alone, and evermore shall be so. I'll sing you 8 O, green grow the rushes O, what is your 8 O? 8 for the 8 bold reigners, 7 for the 7 stars in the sky, 6 for the 6 proud walkers, 5 for the cymbals at your door, 4 for the gospel makers, 3 the rivals. 2 the lily white boys, clothed all in green ho. One is one and all alone, and evermore shall be so. I'll sing you 9 O, green growth rushes, oh, what is your 9? Oh, 9 for the 9 bright shiners, 8 for the 8 bold reigners, 7 for the 7 stars in the sky, 6 for the 6 proud walkers, 5 for the symbols at your door, 4 for the gospel makers, 3, 3, the rivals, 2, 2, the lily white boys, clothed all in green, ho, ho, 1 is 1 and all alone, evermore shall be so. I'll sing you 10, oh, green growth rushes, oh, what is your 10? Oh, 10 for the 10 commandments, 9 for the 9 bright shiners, 8 for the 8 bold reigners, 7 for the 7 stars in the sky, 6 for the 6 proud walkers, 5 for the symbols at your door, 4 for the gospel makers, 3, 3, the rivals, 2, 2, the lily white boys, clothed all in green, ho, ho, 1 is 1 and all alone, evermore shall be so. I'll sing you 11, oh, green growth rushes, oh, what is your 11? Oh, 11 for the 11 who went to heaven, 10 for the 10 commandments, 9 for the 9 bright shiners, 8 for the 8 bold reigners, 7 for the 7 stars in the sky, 6 for the 6 proud walkers, 5 for the symbols at your door, 4 for the gospel makers, 3, 3, the rivals, 2, 2, the lily white boys, clothed all in green, ho, ho, 1 is 1 and all alone, and evermore shall be so. I'll sing you 12, oh, green growth rushes, oh, what is your 12? Oh, 12 for the 12 apostles, 11 for the 11 who went up to heaven, 10 for the 10 commandments, 9 for the 9 bright shiners, 8 for the 8 bold reigners, 7 for the 7 stars in the sky, 6 for the 6 proud walkers, 5 for the symbols at your door, 4 for the gospel makers, 3, 3, the rivals, 2, 2, the lily white boys, clothed all in green, ho, ho, 1 is 1 and all alone, evermore shall be so. 1 is 1 and all alone, and evermore shall be so. It's a song that's sung in many traditions in many different languages, and I think even in one language it probably has different meanings because it was passed on from word of mouth. I think sometimes the words have changed, but let's have a go at seeing what the meaning might be. 1 is 1 and all alone is definitely God, the one and only God. 2, 2, the lily white boys. Some people think it's John the Baptist and Jesus, or it could be the Old and the New Testaments. 3, 3, the rivals. Some folk think that's 3, 3, the arrivals, the 3 wise men. 4 for the gospel writers is clear. 5 for the 5 signs at your door. It could be the 5 wounds of Christ on the cross, or it could be the Star of David. 6 for the 6 bold walkers. I can take that to be the days of the week, the working days of the week. 7 for the 7 stars in the sky. For me, that speaks of the 7 churches in Revelation. 8 for the 8 bold reigners. Probably not the original word bold reigners, but it was moved into that. And I think that could be for the Beatitudes. 9 for the 9 bright shiners. Some people think that's a constellation of stars in the heavens, but there are also 9 fruits of the Spirit, and that's a good word for them, the 9 bright shiners. 10, for the 10 commandments. 11 for the 11 gone up to heaven, the 11 disciples who were called the 11 after Judas had died. And 12 for the 12 apostles. And now Bobby Guthrie is going to tell us the story of the Covenanters, the New Cumnock Covenanters.
Hello, Bobby Guthrie here from my home in sunny Barhead. Thank you again for the invitation to be part of Tea in the Hall. Today I'm going to talk about the Covenanters of New Cumnock. Their story was one which started my interest in the history of the parish some 46 years ago, after a visit from three gentlemen to the New Cumnock Local History Club to talk about preserving the memorials to the Covenanters. Today, I'm proud to say I sit in the committee of the Scottish Covenanter Memorials Association. I'm going to share the story of four of the Covenanters' graves associated with New Cumnock. The first two are the graves of New Cumnockians that lie out with the parish at Aird's Moss, Knockenleck, and at Fenwick Kirkyard. The second two are about Covenanters that were on their way home out with the parish when they were captured and killed in New Cumnock. Our story begins with the restoration of the monarchy in 1660. Well, not quite. I always like to point out that the old kirk of New Cumnock was built the year after Cromwell died and the year before the monarchy was restored, and I ask you to do the same. Charles II was now on the throne of Scotland, England and Ireland, and quickly began dismantling the actions that had been put in place to stop his father Charles I interfering with the Kirk of Scotland. The National Covenant of Scotland in 1638 and the Solemn League and Covenant in 1643 were outlawed. Church rule by bishop, which had been abolished in 1638, was also restored. Those that adhered to these covenants were still proud to call themselves Covenanters, but were in for a torrid time. Expectations were that a few ministers would fail to conform to the king's demands, but instead over 300 ministers throughout Scotland refused and were outed from their kirks, including Hugh Crawford, the first minister of the parish of New Cumnock. Ministers would then preach in the hills and the valleys, and even baptise children in the rivers. These field meetings or conventicles, however, were later made illegal, as persecution of Presbyterians was ramped up. Indeed, Hugh Crawford was later banished in 1683 for not refusing to attend conventicles and for other disorders. The persecution of the Covenanters continued. At 1666, for example, at St Johnstown of Dalry, the heavy-handed treatment by government soldiers of an elderly parishioner initiated an uprising in the west, which saw the Covenanters march in Edinburgh. They were heavily defeated in the Pentland Hills before they reached the city. Many were taken prisoners, and many were publicly executed at the Haymarket. Warnings were sent across the land. For example, the heads of John Ross and John Shields were set up at Kilmarnock. By 1679, rebellion was in the air again. On the 3rd of May that year, a band of Covenanters assassinated the turncoat James Sharp, Archbishop of St Andrews. On the 29th of May, the anniversary of the Restoration, another band of Covenanters rode into Rutherglen to condemn the acts which made conventicles in support of the Covenant illegal. They also put out the fires that had been lit to celebrate the anniversary of the Restoration. On the 1st of June, a large conventicle was held at Drumclog on the border of Lanarkshire with Ayrshire, which was attacked by John Graham of Claverhouse, Bloody Clavers, and his dragoons. However, the Covenanters had come prepared and fought off the attack, killing 36 dragoons. Annually, there still is a conventicle held at Drumclog near the monument to the battle. The tables were turned 3 weeks later at the Battle of Bothwell Bridge. The Duke of Monmouth, one of the Merry Monarch's many illegitimate children, marched north with reinforcements and together with Claverhouse routed the Covenanters' army at the Battle of Bothwell Bridge near Sir Hugh Campbell of Cessnock near Galston and his son Sir George Campbell the younger were fervent Covenanters. Both were imprisoned in the Bass Rock and had their lands forfeited for their part in the rebellion. For their contriving and consulting the late rebellion did most treasonably send out to the said rebellion their tenants and servants specified below, two of which were John Gemmell and Bank and Patrick Gemmell. Now Sir George was a heriter or landowner in the parish of Newcumnock, and included in these lands was a parcel of Bruchloch, Bank, Blackcraig and Inside, as well as many others. So here are the Newcumnock rebels, John Gemmell and Patrick Gemmell. Looking through the Saesine records, we find in 1605 Margaret Campbell and Patrick Gemmell in Bruchloch. 1633 Margaret Campbell, now widow of Patrick Gemmell, and son John Gemmell in Bruchloch, St Bride's Bank, Nether Blackcraig and Downshill. 1657 John Gemmell in St Bride's Bank and son Patrick Gemmell. Now if you look at the map, you can see Bride's Bank there next to Bruchloch, just south of Cumnock Castle in the map. St Bride's Bank was the original name of this property, and through time it simply became Bride's Bank, and then later, as it is still now, the lands of Bank. In 1680, the Reverend Richard Cameron arrived on the scene, known as the Lion of the Covenant, a firebrand preacher. In March of that year, he created the Cameronian Bond. We underscribers bind and oblige ourselves to be faithful to God and true to one another and to all others who shall join with us. The 26 subscribers included John Gemmell and Patrick Gemmell. On the 22nd of June 1680, the first anniversary of the Battle of Bothwell Brig, Richard Cameron and 20 of his men rode into Sanquhar, and here proclaimed the famous Sanquhar Declaration, which included "We disown Charles Stuart, who had been reigning, or rather we may say, tyrannising on the throne of Britain these years past." So as you're driving through the narrow streets of Sanquhar town, you'll see that obelisk that commemorates the famous Sanquhar Declaration. The government were quick to react, and on the 30th of June 1680 a warrant for the apprehension of notorious traitors and rebels was issued, and for the better encouragement all such as shall apprehend and bring in the said traitors, dead or alive, the apprehender of Richard Cameron, a reward of 5,000 marks, Thomas Douglas, Donald Cargill, Michael Cameron, Richard's brother, a reward of 3,000 marks, and then 1,000 marks for each one of the rest of the traitors above mentioned, including Patrick Gemmell, son-in-law to Charles Logan, messenger at Cumnock Mains. Cumnock Mains we now know as Castle Mains, sitting in the heart of Newcumnock. No mention of John Gemmell there, but it's unlikely he was not with these men at Sanquhar at the time. The government troops are now closing in. On the 5th of July, the Earl of Airlie writes from Cumnock Castle. You can see the address here on the top of his letter on the left-hand side. From Gemmell's Meadow, near the old castle of Cumnock, 5th of July 1680. That meadow belonging to Patrick Gemmell. In the body of the letter is a statement about intelligence that Cameron, with a party of 13 or 14 horse, marched the Corson Cone toward Cummerhead and Crawford John. The government troops eventually caught up with Cameron and his men at Aird's the wild moors in the parish of Auchinleck. Cameron's cry before the battle was, "Lord, spare the green and take the right." And indeed they did, for 9 men fell, including Richard Cameron, along with his brother Michael, The others were Robert Dick, John Hamilton, Captain John Fuller, John Gemmell, Robert Patterson, James Gray and Thomas Watson. Here you can see the old monument to the battle on the right hand side, and on the left the new enclosure to the gravestone. On the left hand side is a new gravestone at Aird's Moss with the names of the 9 men that fell, including that of John Gemmell in the bottom left hand corner. Now we can claim that John Gemmell to be John Gemmell of the bank in Newcumnock, I think. For 4 years later, the parishioners of Newcumnock were interrogated, and William Crawford in Bruchloch, next to Bride's Banker Bank, present upon oath of the age of 40 years or thereby married, depones, i.e. confesses he knows yin Janet McMichael in Bank, a fugitive's relict whose husband was killed at Airs Moss. Janet McMichael, the wife of John Gemmell. But what of Patrick Gemmell? Well, he must have been one of the green that was spared at the Battle of Airs Moss, where his name appears in a public proclamation in 1684 for the apprehension of persons who were supposed to have been under arms or to have harboured those who were. Those who were in the parish of Newcumnock were Crichton and Craigmahon, Patrick Gemmell in the Old Castle of Cumnock, William Stilley there, John Tennant at the Old Castle of Cumnock, John Wood, son to Hugh Wood in Lowes, William Lambie in Polwhys, James Steele, tenant to Carlin, that's Waterhead, George Gemmell in Monaich, Greg there, and James Wilson at the Old Castle of Cumnock. A year after the proclamation, Patrick Gemmell, along with 2 other Covenanters, were killed in a shootout with troops at Midland Farm in the parish of Fenwick. However, the tombstone in Fenwick Kirkyard carries the name of Peter Gemmell, based in an account many years later by Howie of Dunlop. Fortunately, we have an eyewitness account of what happened. It was the petition of Sergeant William Bruce that reads, "The committee find that the supplicant has been very active in His Majesty's service against the fugitive rebels, particularly one Patrick Gemmell, upon whose head there was a reward promised in a public proclamation." There is no public proclamation that carries Peter Gemmell. I can find no record of Peter Gemmell having a price in his head. And undoubtedly at Midland Farm it was our Patrick Gemmell that was killed. Here I've tried to build a proposed genealogy for the Gemmell family. On the left hand side, Margaret Campbell, who I'm assuming is descended from the Campbells of Cessnock in some way, is married to Patrick Gemmell. It's in Bride's Bank. They have a son, John Gemmell in Bank, the one that was killed at Airs Moss. He was married to Janet McMichael. They had a son, Patrick Gemmell, who was killed at Fenwick, and he was married to the daughter of Charles Logan of Cumnock Mains. On the right hand side I've also shown that Sir George Campbell of Cessnock had a daughter, Mary Campbell of Cessnock, who married Sir William Gordon, the son of Sir William Gordon of Earlston. Now the husband of Mary Campbell was created the first Baronet of Afton in 1706. The Barony in Afton is entirely within the parish of Newcumnock, and included in its properties are Bruchloch, Bank, Blackcraig and Dunshill and many others. The Reverend James Renwick had emerged as a natural replacement to Richard Cameron in the line of the Covenant, and people would flock in their thousands over hills and glens to hear him speak. In 1685, a group of Covenanters were making their way back from a Renwick conventicle in Galloway, and near the upper reaches of the Nith split into 2. One group of 4 headed north-east over the brow of Carsgaelic Hill, perhaps to other parts of Ayrshire or Lanarkshire, while another group of two headed east across the Nipes and by Overcairn to Upper Nithsdale. On my first trip to the Carscalach martyrs' grave some 46 years ago, the stone cut a lonely figure in a bleak moorland landscape, making it easy to envisage the Covenanters plodding their way to their homes across the moorland. Today, and for many years from now actually, it sits in a clearing surrounded like a prisoner by a dense woodland, and the stone has been painted red. The tombstone inscription reads, "Here lies Joseph Wilson, John Jamieson and John Humphrey, who was shot in this place by a party of Highlanders for their adherence to the Word of God and the covenanted work of Reformation, 1685. Shot without trial and buried where they fell, the martyrs of Carscalach." There was a fourth in the party, Alexander Jamieson, brother of John Jamieson. He was taken prisoner to Cumnock and then later transported to the colonies. This wasn't the original tombstone. A fragment of the original one can be found in the Baird Institute. You can see this in the top left-hand corner. Also in the Baird Institute is a lock of hair and a fragment of a Covenanter's pocky or mitten that were taken from their body when the foundations of the current headstone was being laid. In the middle you can see what that one looked like. As I say, in that bleak moorland, in the top right hand corner is the Reverend McGurk with the tricentenary conventicle at Carscalach, and you can see that bleak moorland stretch for miles. Below is the beginning of the Covenanter saltire at the Greenburn open cast site, not far from the Carscalach monument, and we hope to have that open to the public in the spring of next year now. And so to the Overcairn martyrs. The stone stands just to the west of Overcairn Farm, but is actually on the lands of Nether Wasteland Farm. Across the Nith Valley you can see Corsoncone Farm and of course Corsoncone Hill. The stone can be seen from the New Cumnock to Kirkconnell Road. So the inscription reads, "In memory of George Corson and John Hare, who were shot near this place in 1685 for their adherence to divine truth and attachment to the covenanted Reformation of 1638–50. They lived unknown till persecution dragged them into fame and chased them up to heaven." The local tradition of Corson and Hare's martyrdom is recalled in J. H. Thomson's The Martyr's Grave of Scotland by the editor as follows: 3 miles below the village of New Cumnock there is another martyr monument, which commemorates 2 men who were killed on the same day and by the same party as the martyrs of Carscalach. They were caught, it is said, reading their Bibles, and were shot without ceremony. The present monument was erected in 1843 in place of an older one that had been destroyed. Nothing is known of these men. Their names are not found in Woodrow, but the fact of their murder, of the circumstances and the cause of it, are undoubted. The editor was the Reverend Matthew Hutchison, then the minister of the Reformed Presbyterian Church of New Cumnock, and later minister of the Afton Free Church. Hare was considered to be a member of the Hare family in Glenwarry in the parish of neighbouring Kirkconnell, but nothing more is known of Corson. Well, that concludes my Covenanting tales, and I hope you found them of some interest. I would like to thank Helen for letting me share some stories for New Cumnock's past through her wonderful tea in the hall, and I'm sure you'll all join me in thanking her for all the work she puts in to make it happen. I've a strong feeling she would have given Richard Cameron and James Renwick a run for their money. and that folk would have flocked to hear her in their thousands preach at a conventicle all those years gone by. Anyway, stay safe, take care, and enjoy your tea. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Let New Cumnock flourish by the preaching of the word, as truth in love enfolded is shown, seen and heard, reaching hearts that are weary, minds closed or confused, flowing in and through his people, bringing life-giving good news. Let New Cumnock flourish by the praising of his name. Praise Jesus in every age, forever the same. Praise Father and Spirit. Praise God, three in one. For blessings of the day that's past, for each new day begun. Let New Cumnock flourish by the prayers of his friends, whose faith in him from first to last leads to life that never ends. Only ask and it shall be given. Make all your needs known. The Saviour walks ahead of us. Let his dreams be your own. Thanks as always to Bobby. These stories are a treasure. They really are. I hope somebody writes a book or makes a film of them because they're worthy of being shown on TV for people to see more widely than New Cumnock. Because New Cumnock is certainly a place that is absolutely steeped in so many different kinds of history. So thanks again, Bobby. And for all your contributions over the weeks to Tea in the Hall. And thanks to all of our contributors this week and over the past 20 Saturdays. I think we missed a week for some reason, but 20 Saturdays. And as I say, we hope to have specials every now and again. And please, whether we have a special or not, if there's something you want to sing or play, or somebody you want to have say a poem or tell a story, please get in touch, and we'll have other things as well as the specials, maybe something what we'll call freshly brewed, if there are enough stories, poems and songs to go into it. And I know that whether it's freshly brewed or special, we will always have hello, it's me, the Reverend I am Jolie. Call me Angelina. I'm sad, because this is the last Tea in the Hall for a while. Except maybe for the specials. I'll maybe come back for that. I like a special. Actually, I like a special fish. I don't think I'll get that for a while. So here we are, the last tea in the hall for a wee while. It's been good the day. These clever folk like Maggie and Paul, and I have to now say that no teeth were harmed in Paul's playing of the Jew's harp. I hope you've all been cheered up the day, because I certainly have. And these phrases and proverbs, I don't know what we'd do without them really sometimes. I was learning about some of them, like the cannibal's favourite proverb, you are what you eat, or the baker's proverb, you do not know what you've got until it's gone. You know, as ministers, we get to hear lots of different stories about different folk in different religions and that practice their faith differently. And I was hearing this story. It's a story from the Middle Ages, and it's about a Tibetan monk that came out to Britain. And he thought he could maybe convert folk by battering them. So he went to Middle England, to Nottingham, and he roamed about the forest, and he got into this town, and he said, right, all you yous. I think he had a Scottish mother, maybe. Right, out you come and fight me. So they sent out their best fighter, and phew, he was gone in an instant. So they sent out another two. Phew, Tibetan monk. Had them down in an instant. 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the sheriff sent out just about all the fighting men he had. This high-kicking, karate, Tibetan monk got rid of them all. And then a wee boy said, excuse me, sir, there's an Episcopal monk out there. Well, it wasn't, because it was the Middle Ages. But there's a monk out there for the abbey. Oh, no. He wouldn't do any good. He's overweight, and he's really, really unfit. Look at him. He can hardly walk. But anyway, he said, okay, there's nothing else. There's nothing left for it. So the monk for the local abbey, the local monastery, came up. And the Tibetan monk and him were face to face. And the Tibetan monk landed flat on the ground. And the sheriff was amazed. And he said to the wee boy, how did you know that monk for our monastery could beat that Tibetan monk? Well, said the wee boy, you have to fight friar with friar. I think maybe I've said enough today, but you have a good week. You have a good few weeks. Take care. Goodbye. God bless.
To tea in the hall, come one and come all, from Saturdays at 9. There's no bacon rolls, no scones, no snowballs, and nothing to drink at all. But we will share friendship and fellowship, fun quizzes, song stories untold. So might yet in tea and a biscuit all day, please join us for tea in the hall. Oh, the the church all looked up. There's nothing going on in the hall, but just the same, we'll praise God's name. He doesn't change at all.